Hey guys, what's happening? Oh, looks like we already got Vasharian in the chat. All right. Already got people in here. Awesome. Good to be back for week 11, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, look at this. Oink, 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 squeak. There we go. Oh, man. Dude, not much. I'm just back for another week, man. Going to talk some more football. I know we got in a little late today, but we're going to cruise through some of this stuff pretty quick and, get moving on this. But before we jump in, I just wanted to mention something real quick. And I don't usually do this, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Thursday games just for a second with Baltimore and Cincinnati and kind of the way the beatdown that turned into. But I just wanted to say, like, loss is a sobering phenomenon. It really is. And I heard that earlier today, and it really kind of set in point exactly what these teams are going through. So, yeah, Baltimore may have won the battle in that. And I'm not even sure Cincinnati's gonna. I was thinking Cincinnati was gonna win the war, but it doesn't appear that way with them losing Burrow for the season. So Cincinnati, obviously they lose their starting quarterback for the year. Not a great thing. It kind of ruins their chances of making the playoffs and going from there. But Baltimore took a big hit with them losing Mark Andrews for the year, and that's another really difficult piece and component of that offense to lose. The other thing I was going to mention about the AFC North in general is, Cleveland loses Deshaun Watson for the year for season-ending shoulder surgery. Ooh, that's a tough one to say, but they end up losing him, and that's a really big deal for them as well, and might have serious implications for them being able to make the playoffs. So, wasn't trying to start off on a bad note, but just wanted to mention that the playoff picture and the teams that we think that are going to be there moving forward are going to change drastically over the next few weeks due to this. So, let's jump into this real quick. We've got our buys for week 11. We've got the Saints, Colts, Falcons, and Patriots. So not a lot of really good teams there that we're going to miss football of seeing this week. Not a lot of really great players on those teams. Like obviously Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, you're missing them. Bijan Robinson, who hasn't really been playing up to snuff, but has been better this season and pretty good for the most part. And then the Patriots, there's really not anyone on their team that people are missing in terms of fantasy this week. But let's go ahead and continue on with this. Uh, Okay, so in the first game that we've got Steelers and the Browns. Now this is going to be an interesting one that we've got because Cleveland's getting 2 points right out of the gates. And listen, this division looks very different just overnight, as I mentioned with the losses to some of the other teams in the league so far. Really difficult for them, for some of these teams to be able to overcome some of those hurdles. But, this has an opportunity, and I had picked the Steelers at the beginning of the year to finish 14-3. I didn't expect Kenny Pickett to be as bad as he is, or them to play and kind of win games the way they are. But I did anticipate they were going to be pretty good, especially being able to ride the defense. I expected Najee Harris to be better, who he's been better the last couple weeks. But it's the question that you have to ask is, could this Steelers team be deceivingly good? And that's something that we assume as NFL fans, that when we see a team scoring a ton of touchdowns or playing good defense and all of that stuff, like that, that's not exciting. Playing good defense is not exciting football. Scoring touchdowns is. The way the Steelers are playing football right now is not exciting to watch. They've been better the last few weeks, but the way they're beating teams is just not fun to watch. So it's kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth saying that this is a good team, but this is an NFL league where you need to have a good QB in order to be able to have success. You have to have that. And I'm just not sure that the Steelers have enough, but I don't see any of the other teams in this division having that leg up besides maybe Baltimore at this point. It's going to be very interesting to see how Baltimore moves forward from this without Andrews, because I don't think they have a lot of options on offense. I don't trust OBJ. I don't trust Rashad Bateman. But, we'll see. So, for Cleveland, listen, they get Dorian Thompson Robinson, who gets the start. It's not a feel good start against this Pittsburgh defense, who has literally been wrecking quarterbacks the last few weeks. TJ Watt's been taking their heads off. It's not. That's not a place that I'd want to be stepping into, or a role I'd want to be stepping into first week. So, listen, this, like I mentioned, the Pittsburgh offense has been playing better in previous weeks, but I don't think that continues against this Cleveland D. I just expect a heavy dose of running um, from Cleveland in this game. I expect them to milk the clock. It should be very low scoring, but I see them being able to end up with the win in this. Now, Fryermuth is questionable to return. I believe he's active today off IR. So I think I read that earlier. Minka Fitzpatrick, he's going to be out again. Really tough to see that because I think he's a big component of that defense. But also, Pittsburgh is missing their starting nose tackle as well, Montravius Adams. He's going to be out this week. So I think that opens up a running lane for Cleveland to be able to pound the ball a little bit more. The questions I have in terms of Cleveland, though, Dewan Jones, he's questionable. He's been a stud this year for Cleveland. Now, listen, if he's a no go today, that's going to be really bad for them because he's a guy that's been one of the very dynamic pieces they've had. And it's weird that you use the word dynamic too with a guy that's 6'8", 360 pounds. But this guy's an absolute monster. He's quick, he's physical, all of that stuff, and he's been very good for them at tackle. So. Another guy that's out for the Browns this week is their safety, Juan Thornhill, and that's going to be kind of tough for them. But in terms of fantasy aspect, listen, the only guys I'm looking at this week is Jerome Ford. I'm not touching anybody else. Yeah, I've got Najee Harris in one of my lineups, but that's only because of some of the buys and the guys that I'm missing. So otherwise, I'm really not going after any of these guys and trying to start them. Yes, that does include Amari Cooper. I don't trust DTR to be able to get it done yet. Let's see how he does after the first week. All right, let's move on here real quick. So we've got Chicago at Detroit. Now, Detroit's getting 7.5 in this game. It's a big game for Detroit, especially with Minnesota. They're just 2 games behind Detroit in this division, and they've been playing very well. So Detroit has to keep their foot on the gas, has to keep playing well. I expect them to dominate the line of scrimmage the way they try to do every single game. And they're going to be able to impose their will on Chicago. I just don't think Chicago has enough to be able to really compete with this team. So you're going to see a heavy dose of David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and expect Montgomery to really kick it up a notch at playing against his former team. That's going to be a big storyline in this game. I also expect Goff to show the difference between what a playoff quarterback looks like and what one who's not a playoff quarterback looks like when he's, we're comparing him to what we see from Fields. Amon-Ra, Laporta, listen, they should have big games as well, but they may not need them if they're able to run the ball effectively and run the score up. You may not see Amon-Ra or Laporta get that much in terms of production. Like I mentioned, this is going to be the first game back for Justin Fields, so it's not a game I'd really want to take him for. I mean, good luck against Hutchinson. I don't think the game coming back, I'd want to be playing against this Detroit defense who has played quarterbacks pretty tough. Deonta Foreman, he's questionable, but Khalil Herbert's going to be back. And I think that's a big thing coming back from IR. I just don't think they're going to have much success being able to run the ball against this Detroit team. In terms of fantasy, listen, I've Goff, Montgomery, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Laporta. Listen, if you have these guys, you got to start them. You have to, week in and week out. Fields, listen, I'm holding off on him until I see some production out of him. I still don't trust him. He's very fluky. Could he go off this week? Absolutely. He could have a really good game. But I definitely think in this week, I want to see exactly how he looks playing against this defense. And it's a good test for him, too, to see, listen, can he still compete? Is he going to give this team a chance to be able to compete, not only for the rest of this year, but he's still playing for a job next year. So just keep that in mind. DJ Moore, listen, if you drafted him, you're definitely playing him. You have to. He's going to be one of the guys that gives this team a chance to be able to put up points on the board. Do not be silly. Don't put him on your bench. You have to play him in this game. A sneaky pick for this week could be Cole Kmet, though. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let's see. Bob, yes, I love sports ball. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. All right, so moving forward here, we got the Chargers and Green Bay Packers. So For this game, listen, the Chargers are getting 3 points. The Chargers, make no mistakes about it, they've been disappointing this year. Like, this team had Super Bowl aspirations. They've fallen drastically short of that. Justin Herbert was one of my guys at the beginning of the season. And listen, he's fallen very short of MVP expectations. We were hoping that he would have a great season. Kellen Moore would kind of unlock that. It just hasn't happened that way. So, Eckler, the same thing. Listen, he's had two great seasons. This season has not been one of them for him. So we're hoping he can kind of turn the corner here in the second half of the season. This team needs it if they hope to be able to get into the playoffs. And make no mistake about it, this team could still sneak into the playoffs, especially with some of the injuries we talked about before. But listen, Keenan Allen, he is active today. He's been an absolute dog this year. If you have him, you love him. Keep playing him. The Packers, listen, they've been thoroughly disappointing as well. So it's the meeting of two very disappointing teams. But Jordan Love just needs time. I think we all put some unfair expectations on him and a lot of pressure. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers overnight. He's going to take time to develop. He does have some good young weapons here with Musgrave and Reed and stuff. But Watson, I think Christian Watson has been very disappointing for me. He was supposed to be that guy that could step in and be the wide receiver one and take over that role, and he just has not been that guy. Aaron Jones is doing all the heavy lifting on this offense, and he needs a little bit of help. Dobbs has been okay. He's been all right. Still not great, but he's a decent number two. Now, listen, it pains me to pick the Chargers here because I think Staley is going to mess it up, but I've got to be able to do it. And in terms of fantasy, listen, Herbert, especially with Jaire Alexander not playing, that's what it looked like. I'm definitely leaning with Herbert. So Eckler, listen, he's a must start every week. You have to. Keenan Allen, duh. I mean, he's been arguably the best receiver in fantasy over the last couple weeks. You have to play him. Aaron Jones with a little bit of hesitation, but like I've said in past weeks, listen, if he's on the field, there's a chance he could go off for multiple touchdowns in a game, and the Chargers are that kind of sucky team that it's possible it could happen against them. There's just no one else in Green Bay to consider, though. So, all right, let's move on here real quick. All right, we've got the Raiders. Those those guys are just out the sport, so yeah. Jesus, Fast Aaron, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I love that you guys show up every week. I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much on that. All right, let's move forward. We're going to ramp it up a notch here because we only got about 20 minutes left till kickoff. But we got the Raiders at Miami. Now, Miami's getting 14 points this game. I was going to ask the question: is it me or is Vegas all of a sudden seeming likable without McDaniel's there? I hated McDipshit McDaniel's, and I'm so glad that he's gone. But listen, there's no uh, uncertainty about this. They are not going to the Super Bowl this year. They are playing for spots next year to see who they're keeping, who they're not. Guys are going to be able to reserve roles based on how they play the rest of the season. And they're going to be looking to try to play some of the younger guys and see what they can get out of them. Aiden O'Connell, like, he might have a chance against this Miami defense. They haven't played great as of late. Jacobs and Adams, he's got to be able to rely on them. They're two great targets to have. And Jacoby Myers is a great number two. Like, he really needs to be able to utilize the targets that he has and these playmakers to be able to try to push the ball. And they have a chance to be competitive in this game. I don't know if it's going to happen, but they do have a chance to do it. Miami has a lot to lose here. I mean, they still can't shake the mantra of, like, can't beat a good team in this league, and they've got to be able to figure out how to do that. And I think it starts with Tua and Tyreek. They've got to be able to get them started, get them going hot, and then allow this defense to kind of play with the lead. Mostert's healthy, A Chain's active, so that's definitely good things for them. Waddle needs to step up more, but I think they also need to look his way more often. In terms of fantasy, listen, Tua, Mostert, Tyreek, Waddle, A Chain, you're definitely playing those guys. You have to. Adams and Jacobs, and in real deep leagues, Myers as well. But listen, I'll take Adams against Ramsey almost any day. It's just, I liked it and felt more comfortable when Rodgers was the quarterback. I still like the upside in this matchup, though, and I think Vegas is going to have to throw the ball. Definitely think they have an opportunity here. So, All right, let's move on here. Next game we've got are the Giants at Washington. So now in this game here, Washington's getting 8.5 points. And listen, the G-men just don't have much to be happy about this year. They're getting beat up by everybody. It's Brian Daboll is doing what he can, but they just have so many injuries. They lost their starting quarterback, but let's be serious. He still wasn't playing that well at the beginning of the season. Saquon's been decent, but he just doesn't have much else around him. Waller's still on IR. DeVito's getting his second start, but Evan Neal's looks like he's going to be out, and Andrew Thomas as well. Like it's just rough, man. Like this team is just going through a lot. Washington, though, although they're 4-6, they look like they can hang. I mean, they're giving Philly a tough time. Sam Howell looks like a dude. Like he's got a chance to be able to play for a couple years in this league. He's got formidable targets in McLaurin and Dotson. He really does. He needs to be able to use them more often. And Logan Thomas is better of a tight end than most teams have in this league. As long as he's utilizing his targets, I think he's going to have a good chance to be able to run up the score in this game. Brian Robinson, it doesn't have to worry about Antonio Gibson today. I don't believe. I think he was listed as doubtful, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be out. So Brian Robinson's going to get to tote the rock a lot today. In fantasy, listen, I'd go Sam Howell, McLaurin, Dotson. Even this week, yes, Dotson in deeper leagues, but I think he's got a chance to really pop off. I know he's been kind of uncertain in the past couple weeks. Yeah, he dropped a dud for me a few weeks ago. Not fun, but I think he'll be all right. Robinson, I'm definitely playing him. And listen, I'm not going anywhere near the Giants. I'm moving outside of Saquon Barkley this week to find better options to be able to play other than him. I just don't think they're going to be able to do anything against this Washington team. All right, so we got Dallas at Carolina. Dallas is getting 10.5 points. And listen, they've been rolling lately. Dak's been playing well. They still have a massive dilemma, it seems, between Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle, which Rico's active this week, but there's just this notion that Tony Pollard can't handle it. And listen, he just needs to get things going. Like there were concerns going into the season. Can he handle the full workload without Ezekiel Elliott? He has not responded well to that. I want to see him get going. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week one. Like, get this guy the rock up near the goal line, help him build some confidence. You're going to need him in the playoffs. Like, you have to be able to build that confidence with him and be able to scheme him into making some plays. CeeDee Lamb, he's been looking like that dude recently. He's been very hot in fantasy, but he's been playing very well, and Dak's been getting him the ball a lot. So my thing is, I'd be starting Dak, Pollard as well. And at this point, like you kind of have to, right? Like you're bought into Pollard. If you haven't sat him yet, don't like you have to keep playing him. CeeDee Lamb is definitely a must start. Like Carolina, it's just sad all the way around. Maybe in a deeper league, you're thinking Adam Thielen, something like that. But otherwise, like there's just no one on this team we're starting. All right, so we got Tennessee at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting 6.5. Tennessee just hasn't clicked. Like with Will Levis, we've seen a couple starts with him now. It just hasn't looked good, and it's honestly tanked D Hop's stock. He has not looked good because of that, and it's tough to roll him out there. Yeah, maybe he catches 5 balls, but it's for 40 yards. It's like not enough that you need in some of these fantasy leagues to be able to win. You need to get a guy that's scoring those double-digit points to give you a chance each week. Traylon Burks is out again, but listen, this guy just can't stay healthy. He's very similar to Rashad Bateman. I just don't trust this guy at all. In terms of Derrick Henry, listen, he had a good 3-game stretch, and Tampa Bay shut him down last week. But don't forget, this is Derrick Henry's time of year. When he starts to be able to run the ball, it's getting colder out. People don't like to hit as much. They don't want to tackle because it hurts in the cold. Listen, Derrick Henry excels in this environment. So just keep an eye out for that. If you have a chance, I think this is the trade deadline for fantasy. I'd be looking to try to scoop him if you could. And listen, Jacksonville, I think they're still spitting up blood after what the 49ers did to them last week. They kicked the absolute shit out of them. But look, I mean, they've got to bounce back. They have to, right? Like their record's good enough. They're probably going to win that division unless Houston is able to catch them. But look for Lawrence and Etienne to bounce back and get on track this week. I'd like to see more Calvin Ridley involved. Christian Kirk seems like he's always a safe bet to be able to play. Zay Jones, I'm shocked that he's active after that domestic assault. Definitely did not look good. And in terms of the last target, you've got the tight end Evan Engram, who Lawrence is just. I mean, he loves this dude, so he's always going to be in the mix for targets. You have to be able to play him. In terms of fantasy, listen, Henry, like I said, D Hop, if you absolutely have to, but Lawrence, Etienne, Kirk, Engram, Ridley, like you got to be able to start those guys. They've got a chance to be able to do it. And I just think Ridley at this point, he's got to be able to turn it around. I think he will be able to. So, uh, oh my God, look at this clock rhythm. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it, bro. And listen, I don't look hot. Oh, Bumpy Johnson here too. Oh my goodness, man. We're getting a lot of people in the chat today. All right, let me keep this rolling then. Okay, we got Arizona at Houston. Houston's getting 5.5 points. Now, listen, Houston now is looking very different after that big win over Cincinnati last week. And seeing some of the injuries in the AFC, this team just snuck its way into playoff contention. And I mean, they don't get it twisted. They were a playoff team before they played Cincinnati, but they are definitely a playoff team now with that. They have this is a team that no one wants to be able to play in the playoffs, or no one wants to have to play, especially with CJ Stroud at the helm. They look very different from the team that lost to Carolina and Atlanta last month. They've rebounded in a very good way. CJ Stroud is that guy. I mean, everyone that's watching him is able to see it. He makes those around him better. He elevates all of those people, and he's a hell of a fantasy asset. He really, really is. Damian Pierce, Noah Brown, they're both out, but it might not matter. He's just going to continue to find playmakers on that Houston team. In terms of Arizona, listen, Kyler Murray being back brings the Cardinals up, quite a bit. He's going to allow them to be able to put up some points. Marquise Brown, listen, he should be better. Rondell Moore, I was pitching him last week. He should be able to pick up production, especially with Michael Wilson out this week. You've got Trey McBride, who is definitely a top three tight end the rest of the way. So do yourself a favor. If no one has him in your league, which should not be the case if you're playing in a competitive league, but if no one has him, definitely pick him up. In terms of fantasy, listen, you got Stroud, Dell, Collins. I would definitely be starting these guys. Dalton Schultz, listen, I know some people are doubters on him, but 5 out of the last 6 games, minus the bye, right? Like that, we don't count that in the games, but 5 out of the last 6 games, he scored double-digit points. Like this guy's been very consistent. Stroud trusts him. I'd have him in my lineup if I didn't have a better tight end. So Kyler, listen, I'm still not sold on him 100% yet. Yes, I saw that third down run. I really liked it. He looked good, but I'm pumping the brakes real quick until I see him really put up some points. But James Conner, Rondell Moore, Marquise Brown, Trey McBride, yeah, they'll crack my starting lineup. I got no problem starting them. All right, let's move on here. We got Tampa Bay at San Francisco, and San Francisco is getting 13.5 in this game. A lot of big spreads this week. So hopefully we're not seeing a lot of blowouts and we're just seeing more competitive games, but yeah, some big spreads. But listen, Baker's been better this year than people give him credit for. He's going to need to have be like expert level in this game in order to be able to have a chance. And I think he needs to be able to rely on Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I'm just not sure Rashad White is going to be that guy, not against this defense and not the way they played last week. I think they're going to shut him down. So Tampa Bay's defense is a little banged up. They've got Carlton Davis Jr., Devin White that are both questionable. We're going to see how that. It may not matter for San Francisco. They may just steamroll them anyways, but listen, San Francisco's starting to roll again. Yeah, they had a 3-game losing streak. It did not look good, but this offense looks very different with Debo and Trent Williams in the mix. And when they're there, whew, not only does Brock Purdy play better, this whole offense plays better. So, listen, the Tampa Bay defense is good. McCaffrey is just better. He's going to figure out a way to be able to expose them, and he's great out of the backfield. He's great running the ball. They're going to find ways to put the ball in his hands. Like I mentioned, San Francisco's defense, they've looked a lot better compared to the last few games. I expect them to take a big step forward in this game, and Baker's going to have his hands full with Bosa and Warner and all of these guys that are, just Chase Young too. Like they just don't. They got playmakers at every level on that defense. I would never want to play against them. So in terms of fantasy, listen, Godwin and Edwards. Tampa Bay's got to try to push the ball down the field. I expect they're going to be playing from behind. Those are the two guys I would go to if I had to move the ball down the field. So Rashad White, I'm not touching him at all this week. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. Listen, I'm holding off on Purdy this week, but in deeper leagues or super flex, I definitely see a path to be able to play him. All right, we got the Jets at the Bills. Buffalo's getting 8.5 points. Listen, we could be staring at a Jets team that honestly has a better record than the Bills after this week. Don't forget week one, how that went. It was very, very ugly. So I don't know. Listen, the Bills have been reeling lately. It doesn't seem like they're going to get back on track this week. I just don't know. Like the Jets' strength is their defense, and I don't think a struggling offense with the Bills is going to find a path to success in this game with that. I wish people would lay off Josh Allen. Like this guy's a really tough dude. I've loved him ever since he came into the league. He wasn't good enough for anyone in college. He wasn't good enough for anyone in the pros, but he's literally worked his butt off at every single opportunity that he's been given. And he's been able to have success. I know a lot of people are blaming him, saying he's a turnover machine. All of this. I saw the episode with Stephen A. Smith and Kimberly Martin, who I think both of them owe Dan Orlovsky a serious apology. The way they tried to embarrass and undermine him on TV, they should be ashamed of themselves. Stephen A. He's just been unhinged for many years now, just popping off on the mouth all the time. But Kimberly Martin, listen, you better do your research before you come at a guy like Dan Orlovsky. Like that guy played in the league. He knows quarterback and the game of football. He'll forget more in 1 hour of a segment with you about football than you'll ever learn about football. So definitely woman up and apologize to him because you embarrassed yourself on TV. So I just think, okay, off of that now. Listen, I don't think Josh Allen's going to repeat in week one. I expect him to get back on track this game. Listen, Stephon Diggs, he's going to try to shut out the noise. I know his brother was chirping in his ear that he needs to get up out of Buffalo, but listen, Stephon Diggs is going to show up. He's going to try to be that guy. Gabe Davis, listen, get your shit together, bro. Like, you get paid for one thing, catch the ball. If you can't catch the damn ball, like let someone else step in and do it because there's other guys on that team that are begging for a chance to be able to go out there and make plays. Stop, stop dropping balls, dude. Please. I mean, and listen, on the other side of this, listen, if the Jets reel off some wins here, Rodgers could come back and return. I don't know if it's going to happen that way. Listen, he looks better. He looks better than he has in terms of his rehabilitation. I just don't know if he's going to be that guy that we're expecting him to be if he does come back. I think the Jets actually have an outside chance to be able to make the playoffs, especially with all the injuries we talked about in the AFC North. Garrett Wilson, listen, he's still listed as questionable. Brees Hall could go off for 200 yards rushing this game. I mean, Buffalo's prime for the picking. They can't stop the run. Brees Hall's an absolute stud, and I expect them to run the ball a lot and try to keep the ball out of Zach Wilson's hands. In terms of fantasy, listen, I'm definitely rolling Josh Allen out there if I've got him, which I don't. But if I did, I'd still be rolling him out there. Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid. I'm definitely sitting Cook and Babe Davis. Dude, sit on the bench, man. Until you can learn how to catch the ball, we're sitting you. And also on the other side with the Jets, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson plays, I'm definitely starting him. But Brees Hall, I definitely would be rolling him out there in my lineup this week. All right. Ooh, A-Chain or Pollard? Ooh, okay. All right. Listen, man, I'd be rolling through Pollard today. And listen, I know how he's been this year. I know he's been disappointing since week one, basically. But they're playing against Carolina. They've got a serious opportunity to be able to really put up some good points. I would love to see Pollard this week, and I'm just not sure A-Chain's going to be that guy first week out of off of the IR. Also, don't forget, like they're going to ease him back in Miami. Mostert is healthy this week, so it's not like A-Chain stepping back into the starting role and not going to have to worry about any competition. Like he's going to have Mostert there as well. I would definitely be rolling Pollard out there this week. Uh, let's see. All right. Let me see here. All right. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing any other comments there, guys. Sorry about that. I know I'm rolling kind of tight on this. I just want to make sure we get everything in before kickoff here. Seattle at the Rams. Listen, the Rams are getting 2 points here. I'm kind of shocked by this line, to be honest, but it should be an excellent game, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. You got Tyler Lockett and Jamal Adams both questionable for Seattle, and I think that makes a difference for them in terms of their offense and their defense. But Seattle's 3-2 in their last five. They're not far behind San Francisco. Like, I know you look at the standings, they got the same record, but San Francisco owns the tiebreaker right now ahead of them. Now, listen, if what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to run the ball well. Gino needs to protect the rock. They got to use Ken Walker and use DK Metcalf a lot. And I think that's going to give them a good chance to be able to compete in this game. But they've got a Rams team that's getting Matt Stafford back, and they are. This is much needed, especially for Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua owners. They definitely have wanted this for a while. You saw the inklings before of what it looked like with Cooper Cup and Matt Stafford when Cup came back. You definitely want to see more of that. So, and they've both shown they can both coexist in this offense together. I think he's going to be able to expose the Seattle secondary that is pretty good. Just keep in mind, Kyron Williams, he's still on IR. Week 12, we should see him, but not this week. So, in terms of fantasy, listen, in deeper leagues, Stafford, I'm starting this week. Cup and Nakua, they're must starts. Ken Walker and DK, you have to start them every week. And Gino in deeper leagues, listen, he hasn't been as consistent. Popped off last week, but the week before, he hurt you pretty bad. And that was not fun to be able to see. So, all right, let's move on. We just got a few more games here, guys, and I'll let you get to the 1 o'clock game. So, we got Minnesota at Denver. Now, Denver's getting 2.5 points. I was kind of surprised by this line as well, but I'm also surprised by how well Denver's been playing, especially recently. Like, they're riding a 3-game winning streak, which I don't think a lot of people realize. That I think, in my opinion, that game where they played Miami and they got, Miami hung up 70 on them, I think that was a fluke. I really do. Like, some teams have bad days. Yeah, we haven't seen a game like that in years, but I really think that was a fluke because this Denver team is playing much better football in the last month, arguably than Miami has been. So, I mean, you look at the way they've been pushing the ball in terms of offense, the way they've been playing on defense. I, I'd be hard pressed to say that Miami's a better team than them right now. So, I Denver just needs to continue to let Russell Wilson cook. Like, he had that awesome throw in the corner of the end zone to Sutton. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I think if he's able to get more balls to him, I think they have a better chance. I don't know, maybe a little more Jerry Judy, maybe some Marvin Mims, but I'm not touching either one of them in fantasy. I'm really not. I just don't trust them at all. In terms of Minnesota, listen, they're riding a 5-game winning streak, and I don't think that this is the week that ends. I honestly think they go in there and they beat Denver. But Dobbs, he's been awesome to watch from top to bottom. Ty Chandler, listen, he was not amazing last week, but he wasn't disappointing either. Madison's questionable this week, trying to come back from that concussion, but I'd like to see more Ty Chandler and see how he's able to kind of get into this offense a little bit more. Addison and Hawkinson, they've been helping this team so much and providing Dobbs great targets to be able to throw the ball to. And their defense is playing better too. Like, I just saw the notification Jefferson's not going to be back this week. They're looking to try to get him back next week. And he had already said, I'm not coming back till I'm 100% healthy. So, in terms of fantasy, listen, Wilson's a decent play. He has been almost every week this season. Dobbs, definitely. Addison, Hawkinson, Chandler. Listen, I think Chandler could be real good this game as well. All right. And the last game we've got, listen, Philly at Kansas City. This is going to be an epic Monday night game. I'm really disappointed that I'm in Turkey and I can't be able to see this game live because I really think not only is it a Super Bowl rematch, but I think it's going to be just an incredible one to watch from top to bottom. It's the Kelsey Bowl Part 2. I expect to see a lot of points scored in this game. I believed I picked Philly to win 31-28 in my podcast earlier this week, but you're going to see great production out of Mahomes. You're going to see great production out of Hurts, A.J. Brown, Travis Kelce, Devonta Smith. Those are guys that you're definitely going to want to see in this game. And if they're on your fantasy team, you're definitely rolling them out there this game. DeAndre Swift as well. Goddard, I believe he's listed as doubtful, but he might be out. I'm not sure if they've updated that yet, but if he's not there, listen, I don't think it changes Philly's chances drastically. I just think if he is there, it gives them another option on offense. Pacheco, I really wouldn't be running him out there this week. I don't think he's that good, and I don't really think any of the other receivers on Kansas City's offense are really worth throwing out there. The only guy in a deep league that I'd consider would be Rashee Rice, and he's been kind of up and down lately. Just hasn't been as consistent as you would kind of hope. That's a team that really, really needs a number one receiver all the way through. So all right, guys, I think that is it in terms of games. Listen, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If there's anything else you guys need, let me know. But again, I really appreciate the support. Love that you guys keep showing up. It really makes me feel good to keep popping in here and being able to help you guys out each week. If you need anything else, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Willie Creamin FF, or again on Twitch here at Willie Creamin on Sundays. I'm trying to get on an hour before kickoff every Sunday to be able to give you guys some good breakdowns of the games. But also, don't forget, you can catch me on my podcast, which is The Pulse, starring my buddy and I. That's on YouTube. So if you have any questions, let me know. You could find it on my channel here down below. But other than that, have a great week. Good luck in fantasy. See you guys next week. Peace.